It's a Wales through a goal. Slots it beyond Foderingham. And the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, Adoffin. He can hit them. And he does. Adoffin! Has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello everybody, welcome back. This is New York Talk, the Rotherham United podcast, and we have football to talk about, which makes a nice change from the last 2 weeks. We have the Friday night draw in the Yorkshire derby against Leeds. We also have another Yorkshire derby to talk about as well. Hull City is technically a Yorkshire derby. But we'll talk about that and all the latest managerial talk, I think is the right word. Mick is with us. How you doing, Mick?
All good, mate. Thank you. All good. Are you?
Yes. Warmed up on Friday?
Warmed up? Yeah, sort of. Kind of.
Fair enough. Kev's back with you. How you doing, Kev?
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you.
Top stuff. And Danny's with us. How you doing, Danny?
Good, thank you. I've still not warmed up from Friday. My hand is still frozen.
Yeah. We're going to start with Legends Night, Kev. We're in the week of less than 7 days. There's a few tickets left, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, there's not many left now, to be fair. We had a big push last, about a month ago, getting a bit worried because we're only about 200 sold, but I think we've just pushed 300 now, so not many left at all. It's next Friday, so it's 6 days away. It's come around really quick. Yeah, very excited. Legends, we've created a WhatsApp group chat for the legends who are on coming just so they can share stories, and Matty Goodwin's like writing them all down and whatnot. And there's some absolute belters. There's some what might be a bit close to the bone, but they're going to say them anyway. Auction prize, we've gone above and beyond, I think, this time, and we're doing the raffle a bit different. People might have seen on Twitter, rather than have your usual, bottle of Baileys and a box of chocolates crap in a raffle, we put like half the auction prize into raffle. So there's also signed shirts, signed balls. There's loads in there. So hopefully everyone will dig deep on the night. And also, if you're not going tonight, shame on you first of all. But if you're not, you can still bid on something if you want. You can still have a go on the raffle. You should get in touch with me. Send the details over, and I'll screenshot and send you your tickets over. So yeah, please get involved.
Absolutely. Good cause. For the hospice, it's a great cause. Yeah. We're very much looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah.
The second point of order is an apology for the instant reaction that we did on Friday. Upset some people, apparently. So apologies if you're upset by the sound quality.
That's triggered you, that, and it has really triggered you.
Big nibble from Matt on that one, to be fair.
So apologies about it. Obviously, we did something else, the family reaction, which we didn't put out. That worked okay, and then for some reason, the instant reaction, the microphones didn't pick up us, so all you can hear is Ben breathing as the cameraman. Apologies. That's all I can say. We'll double check next time. But there we go. Where do we want to start?
The man in the white suit, surely.
Let's get this out of the way. Let's get it out of the way, because this was a moment. On Friday, Mick, we were stood together because we obviously sit together, and I had a few messages come through from Wednesday fans, and John Morell, the Birmingham fan, as well, messages as well, asking if we'd seen the interview with Tony Stewart. I thought, no. I said we hadn't seen it because we're at the ground. And they're going, it was this, that, and the other. I thought, they're just having a laugh. They're just taking Mickey here. And then I listened to it. It was ill-advised at best, Mick.
Yeah, I think that's probably one way of putting it. It's difficult. It's a difficult one. The first thing I would say is I don't think Tony Stewart's going to be advised by anybody. That's his personality, and I don't think anybody's going to advise him. Unfortunately, he'll continue to go out in the press and speak like he did, which I've got some concerns about it personally, and I don't really want to go too down on him too hard. He shouldn't have done the interview, is the bottom line. and he shouldn't have. We shouldn't be in the situation we're in, and we're in that situation because he's chosen to go away rather than deal with the job in hand, or more importantly, trust somebody else to deal with the job in hand. So there's a number of issues, aren't there? But I don't want to go off on one at him because it's difficult in this environment. But my view is that there's perhaps something else going on as well.
Potentially. We said last week on I think on this show that we wanted a bit more communication from the club. When Paul Warne left, we had the Rob Scott interview, a couple of other things. We were kept up to date. I thought that was really, really good. It's been a blackout in terms of output from the club in the last 2 weeks. And I'm sure that Rob Scott and the recruitment team and all those guys, I'm sure they're working the fingers to the bone and trying to get these people together. And that's maybe what Tony should have said. You shouldn't have mentioned he's had to go away. You should have just said we've got the best people on it. We're working really hard. It just came across like they've all been sat on their hands. I'm sure a lot of them haven't.
I think he's been sat on a beach, not his hands. Yeah, you're right. It's where he said it. The only good thing he said was that we've been inundated. There's loads of people who applied for it, which is great. He should have left it at that and said the reason it took so long is because we've been inundated with quality applicants. We've got to sift through them all, not turn around and say, well, I've been going all this, so I didn't really have time or energy to put into it. It was just an absolute disaster. I don't know. To me, it looked like he'd been supping as well. He looked a bit under the influence, and he was just going on and on. It started badly when he said he could even said people had put the letters in box or something. Some random comment. It just went downhill from there. I thought it was wind up. I thought someone had doctored it and put clips together. Then I realised he got his Steve McManaman suit on, and now it was real. It was an absolute disaster. I wish he'd never done it. And like Mick says, it's because he's so OP. We won't listen to anybody. He's not got an advisor telling him, don't do this, don't do that, Tony. He just goes off and does his own thing. And I think this time, I think a lot of fans are thinking he has probably lost plot a bit.
A few quotes. John Morales, all jokes aside, is he a little close, or he's deflected the attention away from not getting someone in over the break? Possible. Maybe somebody's turned us down and he's just sort of covering for that potentially. Jan Bieber says opposite. I honestly didn't see anything wrong with the interview. As Tony Stewart said, it was going to be a long process, any road. No, Danny. If you're going to sack somebody, have an idea in mind. Have a relatively decent plan in place. So we're going to get X amount of people on the list by a certain day, and then by the next day we'll do this and the other. Bearing in mind it's Saturday, Tuesday this week. We've got a free week next week, and then Saturday, Tuesday the week after. I suppose we're going to have a lot of ground, but it put a damper on the evening before the evening even started.
Yeah, that's true. I reckon Sam Todd will pulling his hair out with that Tony Stewart interview. Like, oh no, because Tony did say he's been far too busy supping his mojitos on a beach in Macedonia with Brian Dean to look for a new manager. But the process is underway. But I think it's highlighted something we touched on in the last podcast. We had all that time to really find someone, and then sack Mac Taylor and then start the process. But it's almost seemed like we've been on the back foot with the process anyway. And Tony Stewart just seems to have highlighted that even more now. It could not affect us at all. It could bring in more applicants, or it could actually convince people to withdraw their applications as well. So I think that does highlight that Tony has no media training whatsoever. Like we said, does like to do what he wants, which is a bit in those sort of situations. I mean, fair play to Sky; they've got him at the opportune moment and can ramble on telly for a bit. So fair play to the journo who pulled him for that interview. They've done the job perfectly there. But at the same time, it's really like, ooh, that's not a good look for us. And I just hope that Tony does learn from it a little bit in a certain sense, but also at the same time that it doesn't affect us too badly in the application hunt. I do hope it is a case of we've had that many applications that we're just sifting through them all, like you say, Kev, and that's why it's taking so long. I hope it's not just one application that's just gone. They've just withdrawn that because of the interview. Oh dear, So I hope it's the latter and not that one.
Yeah, John Wells, if you sack somebody before an international break, you don't waste the whole break and not interview somebody, at least someone for holiday. It's something that their olders would have potentially done. Palmer is desperate for a Mick rant on Tony Stewart. I think you're going to disappoint him, aren't you?
Well, I am a bit. I mean, yeah, it were a car crash, weren't it? We've said it. It was a car crash. Tony Stewart's old school, and he will do things his way. There's no doubt about that. And that way has been successful up to a point. Well, it's been very successful if you consider the fact that we are a solvent club, isn't it? In our own ground and so on and so forth, going over all that old sort of old ground. But I suspect he's got control issues or delegation issues, whichever way you want to describe it. He's clearly the man that's going to make the decision, and he doesn't trust anyone else to be involved in that process by the looks of it. So he's his own man, and you're never going to change him. We're far too far down the line for that. And if somebody comes along, obviously, and he feels it will take the club forward, then that things might change. But in the meantime, we've got him. We're going to have to put up with his eccentric behaviour. I'm afraid, because in reality, he's done a really good job up to this point, and he's kind of taken his. Well, he's not kind of. He has completely taken his eye off the ball in terms of the significance of this situation, and it certainly feels that way anyway as a supporter. So, but like I said, on the flip side of that, we never know. Nobody knows what's going off in people's personal lives, do they?
No.
So who knows?
No, I agree with Mick as well. I think I've said it on here before. The man is what he's done for this club is nothing short of unbelievable. He's took us from crappy old Millmore to where we are now, and we're going to struggle this year to stay up. But he has done brilliant. But he's now getting to that stage. I mean, he's 70 odd. He's got all that money. He's getting to that stage now where all that what he's done in the past could be just thrown away. I'd rather him pass it on to someone else who wants it or sell it to someone else, name the ground after him and build a statue and thank you for everything, Tony. But he's coming to that stage, I think.
There's one of the comments there from Scott Kent saying he wouldn't trust Paul Douglas. I would 100% trust Paul Douglas and Rob Scott to do this process, sort this process, and get the right man in the job. Absolutely no doubt in my mind whatsoever. Probably do a better job than the chairman would. I'm absolutely convinced about that.
Well, this week is when it's happening. So, going from what Tony Stewart said, interviews will probably happen Monday, Tuesday. There could be an appointment by the end of the week, so we could have somebody in before Birmingham, but it could take a little bit longer depending on if they accept the job or not, I suppose.
Now that you've said that, I have this weird picture in my head that they'll be conducting an interview at New York Stadium whilst the game is on telly on iFollow.
That's part of the interview, Danny. So the interview's on, and the manager's got to tell him what's going wrong and what he'd do better.
When would you bring Georgie Kelly on? No, about 68 minutes. You're hired.
Might give him a trial. Might give him a trial game. See how he gets on.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully by the end of the week we'll have something. We don't know. Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about some actual football because there was a good game on Friday night, 1-1 draw against high-flying Leeds. Kev, Wayne Carlisle took interim charge. What were your thoughts on the game? Deserved point in the end?
Yeah, massively. People probably think I'm mad for this, but I thought we're lucky not to get 3 by the end of the. I mean, obviously before the game, I took a point, absolutely. I work in Leeds and an office full of Leeds fans, and some of them were at the game, so I was dreading going to work tomorrow. But I'm now looking forward to it because I'm the happier one. Leeds will be disappointed with losing 2 points, getting 1. But I thought even before we equalised, I didn't see them apart from their goal. There weren't many other real guilt-edged chances. And I thought we were defending well. I thought if we get into half time at 1-0, we've got a chance second half. And obviously then we equalised and we're all talking after at half time. And I thought we actually did all right. We're playing all right. We're battling hard. And obviously, second half completely different. We were on the front foot. We were the more attacking team, I thought. Leeds clearly had more quality. Clearly. They were fast on the ball, little intricate passing out, but they didn't really cause any danger. And at full time, I was disappointed not to get 3 points. Yeah, that were great.
Yeah, we went with an old back line down here. There's no way of going around this. You got Peltier at right back, Ayala and Morrison as your centre halves, and Bramall the only one with any pace. And that the pace wasn't the reason we considered that early goal, but there was a defensive issue because, in fact, I think it was the only time in the night where the defensive line got it massively wrong. But Ayala was well deep, which played some of it on side. Sorry, and he's never good. Always going to hit the target from there, and with the level of player he is. But it's frustrating because, like I said, I think for the rest of the game, I thought we defended really, really well. So to concede a sloppy goal like that adds into the frustration.
Yeah, it was a frustrating goal to concede. I mean, we said, well, for anyone who actually tried to hear us on the post-match reaction, we did say we'd have to look back, see if it were onside or not. But it was, like I say, Ayala was too deep. But I think that comes in a sense of it's the first time those three have actually played together in that back four. And yeah, there is always going to be a little bit of, not rust, but cohesive issue, shall we say, when it's the first lineup. Like, Lord knows what's been happening in training. If we've been lining up with those three or playing a different system or whatever. But it certainly seems that in the game situation, it took a little bit of time to bed in with those three. But after they did bed in and they sort of picked and sent up after conceding the goal, like you say, I thought we were really, really good. Case in point being the offside goal for Leeds, which I think if they'd have played together a bit more often, the first goal would have been that if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They would have been a bit more clued up in the back line. Don't get me wrong, it was still close and it was a great call from the referee.
Yeah.
But you can sort of see the differences how they've played together and one thing happened, but it was early doors, not really played together, and the other thing happened. And I do hope it's a back three of the four that we see more often, if I'm being honest. Maybe not every game and rotate a couple, but I hope it's a bit more consistent with that back four because when it works, it actually works really well. It's just that when it didn't work, it just looks sloppy.
Yeah, I agree. Shelley says Ayala made a difference at the back. He looks confident on the ball. Very good signing for it. I thought eventually, I think him and Morrison complemented each other quite well.
Looks a touch slow to me though. But that's his agent, I suppose. And he's playing against quick players, but quality.
If we had Ayala and Humphreys in the back line, like
or Blackett.
Or Blackett, as well.
But Mick, we probably should have been a couple of goals down at half time. Dan James missed that. The Dan James one was awful. And I think it was Glenn Kamara with another, which was almost a carbon copy sort of chance. So we weren't without risk, although I think we defended okay. We weren't without risk in that first half. And we rode that luck, didn't we, for those chances?
Yeah. I mean, as a Leeds United supporter sitting on social media moaning about how they've lost, you can't. It's your own fault. And the finishing was dreadful. There's no wonder they got relegated last season. This is a similar team, pretty much the same team. Obviously, some of them have gone, but if that's how you finish, there's no wonder you got relegated. And if you continue to finish that way, you'll not get promoted either, because there are other teams that are far more clinical in this division at the moment as it stands. So you could argue we rode our luck, but had they hit the target, they're still going to beat Victor as well. But they should have taken the chances. They didn't, and they got punished for it. Happy days. But that is the championship, isn't it?
It is the championship, yeah.
That is the championship. If teams were clinical enough to take even 50% of the chances, they wouldn't be in this division for very long. And Friday night showed why Leeds United are in this division.
That's going to be like 90% of our games, isn't it? We are up against quality teams.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And they were knocking it around, Kev, as if it were a training game at times at first. I wonder if they just thought, this is so easy, which is just really easy. And then they would feel like a sucker punch. And then they just didn't come out in the second half. And we just got on top of them. And they just didn't deal with the circumstances that present themselves. I don't think, Leeds.
No, definitely. And I think how do you pronounce it? Farquhar or Fark, whatever they call him. Or Fark, yeah, something like that. Spelt similar. I think his comments day before or on the day were very detrimental. He said something about they're not returning to prime Man City or something, and it's all about the goal count. So I think he were expecting them to come in and probably 2 or 3 up at half time and blitzers, but I don't think that goal. Our goal and stroke half time changed our second half performance. I think we'd have come out firing in. I think maybe that was a game plan from Carl. Maybe Carlisle said, look, get in at half time, 1 down or ideally even, and you're in it, you've got a chance. Obviously, if they'd have took 1 or 2 other chances, it'd been all over. But yeah, I think, they probably did expect to turn us over quite easily.
I'm really sorry for nearly interrupting you there, Kev, but I thought he said Farquaad and he's from Shrek, isn't he?
Farquhar, yeah, Farquhar.
It's like, oh Lord, calling the Leeds manager Farquaad from Shrek. Oh, please click that. That'd be brilliant.
Then the goal on the stroke of half time. Hakim Adoffin popped up. The goal was created in a couple of different ways. Obviously the immediate build up was very scrappy from Revan and Hacks, but the hold up play from Nombe was brilliant, and then the interplay with Tiahi as well was. We'll come on to that in a bit more detail in a minute. That little bit of build up there was brilliant. I thought that was brilliant, and then the goal was a bit scrappy, but I thought the build up was excellent.
Yeah. In a sense, it almost seemed like one of Nombe's better games for us. Like I've seen a few people say, that it was his best game for us, and all he needed was a goal. But Adoffin, which he nearly got exactly. But Adoffin always seems to pop up at the right moments, doesn't he? Like personally, I didn't really see us getting a goal in that first half. I thought it was going to be a case of building in the second half and once again coming from behind, which seems to be our bread and butter this season at the minute.
Couldn't do it for love nor money last season.
No, that's this season. It happens all the time, mainly because we just concede early. But anyway, but it was a nice surprise to get a goal before half time, and it almost spurred us on a bit more in the second half. Like I say, it was quite scrappy, to be fair. But sometimes the best goals are the scrappy ones because they're the ones that really kick you on in the second half. Like I can't remember which game it was. It might have been against the one that sticks in my mind is Gillingham in League One, where our equalising goal was the scrappiest looking goal I've ever seen, and then we beat them 5-1. Like, don't get me wrong, that didn't happen against Leeds, but it shows proof of concept. Even if it's a crappy equaliser before half time, it still eggs you on in the second half. And I thought for maybe 60% of the second half, we were the better team.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Nathan Crabtree says, I thought we were a little bit more organised. We weren't. He doesn't think we were that bad in the first half, but we did grow into the game, deserve the goal because they didn't take their chances, and we think the second half we were excellent. Shelley says, was it Hax's best game for us? Make absolute ball. I think he couldn't get a chance at 1.2. I think about renaming this podcast the Hakim Adoffin fan club. Because I just love him. I just love him. Exactly. I've got the shirt there. Exactly. I just love seeing Hacks on the pitch. When Hacks plays, you just feel a bit better when it's in central defence or midfield. I just thought it was excellent. Took the goal extremely well. His weaker foot. Took it early. Melia probably should have done better. Probably, I think, but there we go. But yeah, just love Hacks more and more every game.
Yeah, you do. And I saw a tweet. I think you tweeted on there on Twitter about him saying that he could ask him to do anything and he'd be good at it. And one of the tweets I saw was, you could ask him to play central defence, midfield, or come and plaster your living room and he'd do a great job. and that is absolutely right. And he's not. For me, we had Greg Alford was Neil Warnock's utility player, weren't he? And he was bang average everywhere he played, essentially. But he was able to do it. Put him wherever you want. Give him Victor's gloves. And he'll be a top keeper. You know what I mean? Love him to bit. I think he's fantastic, and he fully deserved that goal. I'm hoping that he's not got an injury because he went down. I think he injured his arm at some stage, didn't he, in that first half? But he carried on playing, obviously. Hopefully, that's not going to have an effect for for Tuesday night because we are a better side when he's playing. There's no question about it.
We are, and that's obviously we'd all prefer Cathal not to be injured, Kev, but that midfield three on Friday was it. That's a proper Rotherham United midfield three. I'm going to talk about Ty more in a minute, but I think that midfield three really, really works. They all give something different, and they all constantly with Cathal he drifts in and out. All three of those players almost always have an impact on the game, and that's a really good start base for those three, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely. The only thing I'm disappointed with, Rathbone didn't get a booking because I'd have had a 48-1 bet up, but can't have everything. But yeah, no, you're right. I think that is our preferred or best three. I mean, Cafu is an expensive luxury, isn't he? But it does bring us something different, which is great to have. I mean, we've got Jamie Lindsay coming back at any time. Yeah. He's nearly fit. He's another one who could quite easily replace one of them three we've got because he's similar to Rathbone with his tenacity and his bite and all that. But Odoffin, I think a couple of years ago around here, or a year ago now, I said something about him. I didn't rate him at all. I think I even said I was a professional footballer, I'll never know. But that under a different manager and a different style of play and everything. But he has proper changed it's not just on pitch as well. He's an absolute gentleman off pitch as well. He does so much for the horse pace. He did the midnight walk. When Brex brings players up to the lounge, I think it was a couple of weeks, maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The man of the match were injured. I can't remember who it was. And some of the players in the dressing room, they weren't going to come up, and Hacks just came straight up. First player up straight away to take his place. And he's just such a nice bloke. Thankfully, on the pitch, he's delivering, which is great for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, most important thing for us as a fan point of view. Let's praise some heap of praise on Tiahi, though, Danny, because he looks after the ball. So he was my man of the match on Friday. I thought he protects the ball really well. His distribution is improving, even though he hasn't got a left foot to save his life. His distribution is improving. He is some find him. He just makes us tick, and he feels underrated for me. I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think but I agree. It does feel a bit underrated at the minute because we seem to talk about Tayi quite a lot in these performances, and it's almost becoming standard that Tayi had a good game. You know, like you say, obviously he does have his disadvantages, but you know, he's been voted man of the match a few times. We've said he should have been man of the match a few times as well. He's almost turning into. I don't think he's quite the engine in midfields, but he's almost like the guy who's got his hands on the tiller. You know, he sort of like directs the midfields a little bit, which is actually quite a good player to have. And like you say, he is some find. He was it Wigan last time? Yeah. And I remember a few Wigan fans on Twitter saying that, you know, he's one of their better players. And I'm just happy we've got him because, like you say, he's just improving game to game. Maybe not as quickly as we'd like, to be fair, but I think the more he improves and the more bodies we have in the midfields, the better he'll almost be at directing it because, you know, obviously when Clucas and Cafe were back fit, Lindsay's slowly coming back into it. You've got all the different ways of playing in front of Tayi. And then he can direct them with his distribution, maybe not on his left foot, like you say. And then we can build from there. And that does feel the case now. We're almost building the midfield up a little bit so that we can actually utilise them in games and not just hoof it long when we don't know what to do. Use Tayi in midfield and we should be all right.
Yeah. I think Hacks complements him as well. I think that energy helps him as well. For some reason, I don't think Rathbone and Ty, when Cafu's further forward, I don't think the Rathbone and Ty works. The Hacks things worked brilliantly. When we signed him, Mick, we didn't know much about him. I think it was Will Daniels we spoke to, and he sort of said he's very, very Dan Barlaser-esque. And he hasn't got that 60-yard raking pass, but everything else about his game is Dan Barlaser. But he does that side better than Barlaser. You know, the looking after the ball and protecting the body and things like that. He does that side of his side better, probably better than Dan Barlaser did, and that's quite a big compliment, to be honest with you, because he was very good at that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if he can just add that distribution into his game, it's going to be a hugely valuable player, both for us and hopefully if in the transfer market. So Yeah, he's quality. He's definitely quality. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And he has a big impact on the game. And he's another one of these holding midfielders that does a lot of the dirty work that you don't really see. It's not glamorous, it's not just breaking up the play. And once he gets that distribution honed a little bit better, he's going to be some player. But he is quality, without a doubt. And he is championship quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is. 100%. Let's talk about the second half a bit more, Kev. The chances we had. There was the Nombe clearance off the line. Fred had a chance we should have done better with. We could have gone on to win that game, and if we had, you couldn't really argue too much on that second half performance. I thought we created the better opportunities in the second half for me.
Yeah, definitely. I think Leeds would have argued that we didn't deserve the win, but I mean they had the chances. Seen someone's comment there about the penalty. I've not seen it. I've only seen the freeze frame. On the freeze frame, it does look like a penalty, but I'd like to see it back in full time motion. But yeah, we had chances. The Nombe one, watching that back, why didn't he just square it? If he squared it, do a 2-1 penalty box, ready to tap it in. But he's a striker who wants to get goals, so you can't blame him. He created himself, so he deserved to take the chance, I suppose. That could have gone in. Yeah, you're right. There was one with Fred. Probably should have done better. Yeah. But yeah, it was for me. It weren't the chance. It felt like we got the old Rotherham back. It felt like we got a bit of fight and bit of spirit back in. So I think Wayne Carlisle, even though I hope he don't get a job, I think he's got to take a bit of credit for stepping in when Taylor left out. It must have been a weird week for him to be told, now you're doing this, we're not thinking. So credit to him. He got him playing, and yeah, just getting that old Rotherham back. But we've got to stick. We've got to do it game after game after game because we need to get out of this bottom three. Yeah.
100%. You mentioned Russ Vernon says Leeds were denied a penalty on Friday when Peltier brought Dan James down the box. A couple of Rotherham fans have said they were surprised it wasn't given. At the time, Mick was in hysterics laughing at Dan James because he thought he dove. And I'll be honest, it was Dan James, so I just assumed that he'd thrown himself to the floor. And that's probably what the referee thought. That type of you half expect them to throw himself around. Having seen the picture, it's a nailed-on penalty.
Yeah.
But it's a crowded box, this, that, and the other. Defending the referee when it goes our way, as we should. It's the only good thing he gave us all night, to be honest with you, Mr. Langford. Nick, do you want to put a staunch defence of the referee?
God, I mean, this sticks in the throat a bit. But I thought, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. Don't clip this, please. I thought Oliver Langford had a decent game. I can't believe I'm saying that. I can't believe it. I've almost been a little bit sick in my mouth. No, he had a decent game, and to be fair, I've not seen that penalty back either. And John messaged after the game to say it was an absolute nailed on one. At the time, from where we were sat, obviously it just looked like a normal challenge. Just everything looked fine, and obviously the referee felt that as well. It's difficult. You can't tell from that still image.
Don't look great.
There's no context there, though, is there? So no, it doesn't look great. Absolutely not. And if it was like the Tottenham one, then yeah, it's a penalty. It's probably a red card. But the referee didn't see it, So there's been so many times when we've had penalty shouts this season, last season, and everybody else has the same claim as well that aren't given. You can't, much as I do, hang my hat on it every week when we don't get it. You can't, you've got to let it go, I suppose. So, but ultimately, whether or not that penalty decision or otherwise is not the deciding factor of this game. The fact that Leeds United couldn't hit the bull's arse with a banjo was the deciding factor in this game.
Yeah. I agree with Mick. I thought the referee was fantastic as well. I thought he had a great game. I think he let it flow for a change rather than just keep blowing and stopping. Like you said, Matt, he didn't give us much, but he didn't give Leeds much either. He just let us get on with a game. It was good to see.
Yeah, agree. And Danny, an unbelievable call from the lino for the offside goal. At the time, again, I couldn't work out for the life of me what had gone off, because the guy who scored was obviously nowhere near in an offside position. and the super sub Patrick Bamford touched the ball for no reason. Had Bamford not touched the ball, the same thing would have happened, but the goal would still have gone in the back of the net. But the line, I think that's just having watched it back. I think that's a stunning call for line because I think it is just offside, and he did touch the ball. I think it's a great decision, obviously.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's a great decision not to give the penalty because Dan James quite clearly just ran into Peltier's foot. If I'm being honest. But yeah, Patrick Bamford, sorry. He makes the move towards the ball, and as we've seen in the Premier League, even if you make the move towards the ball, it's considered interacting with play, if that's the right term for it. And it was in an offside position. I mean, if we played Arsene Wenger's version of offside, he wouldn't be, but as it states at the minute, he is. And if Patrick Bamford just stands still, the goal stands. I think. But it's because he makes that move towards the ball. The line was gone. Yep, he's interfering with play. And I think the person who emulated the relief in the stadium most was Victor, because I've never seen him celebrate an offside call like that before. And we also got a few Leeds fans took out the stadium for encroachment as well, which is quite funny. But I think it's a brilliant call from the lino. One of the best referee decisions I've seen.
Yeah, New York Stadium probably. There's not a very long list, is it? To be fair,
no, not really. There's about 2 on the list at the minute.
Yeah, I work with a lot of Leeds fans. Sorry, and they all says Patrick Bamford is like it every week. So for apparently he's a really clever bloke as well. Very well educated.
Yeah,
not on a football pitch. He's thick as, I'm not going to say it, whale something, but he is. It was just really, really poor. If I were a Leeds fan, I'd be more angry at him putting himself in between that and straying offside when there was no need to.
But his ego, we're never going to let him not go for the ball, would it? You know,
no.
That's it. That's all about his ego. That just, you know, he's almost got his back to goal. The ball's behind. Well, he's got his side to the goal, but the ball's going to be behind him. So what is he going to do with it? He's surrounded by defenders, but his ego wouldn't let him. And not only that, he's looking along the line past the defenders, so he can see he's offside himself.
Yeah.
You know? But anyway, good old.
You enjoyed it Friday night, didn't you? We got a point. Dan James got cleaned out, didn't get a penalty, and Patrick Bamford cost his team a goal. But a good night for you, wasn't it, Meg?
It was a good night. I was disappointed I didn't get to shout at Bamford for throwing himself on floor. It's the longest I've ever seen him upright ever. Which, you know, it's. I suppose it's a night of firsts, isn't it?
Yeah. John Morell says, great call by the liner. It just shows we don't need the MS Paint lines drawing on the screen.
Yeah.
Mike Miller, as a former liner, says, this is a semi-pro, he thinks it was an easy call, 2 players stood next to each other, making it a very easy call.
I think the thing that made it easy was that Bamford was straddling the 6-yard line.
The line there, yeah.
And all the Rotherham players were on the right side of the, you know, I mean, it's not as though Bamford had any guide or anything to see whether or not or where everybody else were. Oh, wait, no, sorry.
Back at us, though, Danny Kaz mentioned it. It felt like he got Rotherham United back. And I know it's a home game and we can do this occasionally, but it really, really was a proper Rotherham United performance. We're never going to go toe-to-toe with Leeds or Leicester or anybody else for 90 minutes. We're just not going to do it. It's impossible. They'll do us. But we got in the face, made it difficult for them, broke forward with pace and power. I've mentioned this a few times, but there's a blueprint for how Rotherham United can play this season and be successful this season. We just need that more. If you do that away from home, we'll pick up points away from home. It feels simple. I know it's obviously not, but it does feel simple. Just do that more.
Yeah, but it's all about consistency in this league. Even though the Championship is so inconsistent, if you're a team that finds consistency, you pick up points. And if we put in performances like we did against Leeds more consistently, you know, our home form would be, you know, a lot better than it is. You know, we might not have lost the 2 games. You know, we might have only lost 1. But yeah, it did feel more uplifting, I think is the better way of putting it. It was more uplifting, but it was almost the catalyst of everything that had happened. You know, he got rid of the manager. It was an interim manager who was his assistant manager. against a team that's pushing for promotion after just coming down from the Premier League. It was a bit of a how's your bottle from Rotherham United. And as we've seen many times before, when it comes to the situation of how's your bottle in games where, you know, you don't really have a chance, we sort of stand up and accept it. But when it's other times of how's your bottle, for example, at Sheffield Wednesday, the bottle crumbled because we just didn't play correctly. I mean, not to say I've got high hopes for Hull away because it's Rotherham United away in the Championship, but it's filled me with a bit more confidence than I had on last Thursday night.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm surprised at it, given the experiences that we've had this season, where we play well at home and then go away and absolutely make an absolute balls of it. But I think one of the things for me on Friday night show, what Friday night showed, and Ken mentioned this earlier on, you know, the tactic under Matt Taylor and certainly now under the one game with Wayne Carlisle in charge, the tactic is to stay in the game in first half.
Yeah,
I think that's always been the case, despite the fact I think Matt Taylor's kind of denied that previously. It's quite clear that that's the case, and then to come out in the second half and try and nick something out of the game. I think Friday night at New York Stadium was probably the perfect away performance that Matt Taylor would have wanted to see from us this season. Whereas we as supporters just want that second half for 90 minutes, home and away. And I still believe that were we to play that way, we'd lose less games away from home. We'd still lose, obviously, but we'd lose less games and we'd pick up more points without a doubt. I'm not a fan of this, you know, parking bus for half an hour and, you know, trying to grab something later. It's not for me, but that seems to be the clear tactic for me anyway.
Yeah, it does. One game in charge. Kev, Wayne Carlisle supposedly wants the job, supposedly interested. Any circumstances that you would feel that that's the right move? Say we win on Tuesday, and if you're still inside, win Saturdays, or do you think it still needs that experienced head coming in? No matter what?
It's got to. If it may be a different season or there weren't much to play for, but this is a massive season. I've said it before, but next year the money in this championship is unbelievable. It's it's game changing money, which is another reason why I don't understand why Tony ain't acted quicker. But that's not back to that. But no, I like Wayne Carlisle. I do think he did a great job Friday getting lads going and motivated, but he's just not got the experience for it. It needs somebody to come in, and we've got some big players in that team. Probably the most talented or expensively brought in squad we've ever had. I just think Matt Taylor, lovely guy, he couldn't manage him all. He couldn't get the best out of them certain individual players. So I think it needs someone with a experience in the championship, who's probably got a bit of an ego, really, and a bit of maybe a Nathan Jones. Maybe he loves himself. Maybe he can come in and get him going. Or my ideal choice, Steve Evans.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, mate. Well, he's my choice. I'd love him back. Love him back.
I'll let you argue this later.
After Kev.
Danny, back to the game. I just want to talk about Sam Nombe because I thought it was. Somebody mentioned in the comments it was best game for the club. They didn't score, unlucky not to score. I thought he led the line excellently. He did things that he didn't hold the ball up as well, maybe as Hugo can. But he caused their defenders problems all night. He didn't give their defenders a minute. And that's what you want. And that surprises me that Matt Taylor didn't play him more from the off because this is clearly what he does. So, and that's what we've been missing in the strike force. So I think underplaying Nombe may have contributed to Matt Taylor's job because I think he would have helped in certain games, certain circumstances. Potentially,
yeah. And I think it's a weird one because, you know, Nombe developed under Matt Taylor at Exeter. So I don't know. Maybe there was I'm just theorising here, but maybe there was something in Matt Taylor's head that thought Nombe wasn't ready for the Championship and wasn't quite at the level for that step up. But in the last few games we've seen of Nombe, it's looking like he might be. And it's just like you say, it's just a shame that he wasn't utilised earlier. But we can say the same for Georgie Kelly. We want to see more of Georgie Kelly in the Championship, and he didn't get on the pitch, did he, against Leeds?
No,
Which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, Nombe's going from strength to strength, and it is just a shame that he's been on the bench for so long because his last 2 performances have been his best in a Rotherham shirt.
Yeah, they have. Juju says he's a poacher, and I think that's very harsh, Mick. To be honest with you, I think he's got so much more to his. I think he's a finisher. I think that's his. That's where he's going to make his money in life. But Cooper barely had a quiet night quiet moment all night. And he caused Rodon's an excellent defender. He caused Rodon all sorts of problems. Yeah. And that's what as a striker, that's what we need you to do. We need you to be putting pressure on those defenders in the key moments. And helping with the press, and he's gradually building into a championship striker.
I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's clear that he can clearly finish. We know that you can see that, and I think he against on another day against a different team, with somebody alongside him, he caused even more problems. So it's quality, and the why didn't Matt Taylor play him question, and I just wonder. I was just thinking about it there where Danny was speaking. Matt Taylor's clearly a highly educated man. He's studied football, he's studied coaching, and I just wonder whether, because of his young years and inexperience in the role, because he's only been doing it 5 or 6 years, I just wonder whether he's a little bit too rigid in his thinking. So I am now a championship manager, and I have to have championship quality players. And it stops him seeing the bigger picture and seeing the little nuances that players have and how they can adapt to playing at a different level and everything else. And he's just a bit sort of, I'm not really explaining myself very well, but it kind of is a bit too by the book. This is how we're taught at uni or whatever, and so this is how it works. Instead of being able to see the bigger picture of what's going on around him and. Just using that experience that the managers who've done it for 5, 10 years or longer have got, and possibly also taking advice from other coaches as well. And I've got no basis for saying this whatsoever, so it may not even be true, but I just got the feeling that Matt Taylor was very much his own man and not really want to take on too much advice from others. I might be wrong with that, I don't know, but the non-base situation kind of smacks of it's come from League One, so the course. My course says that you need 3 months in and out of the team first before you're actually. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Too rigid. Get him in there, blood him, let him play, and he will give you you will get the results.
Yeah. Sure. John Morales is really impressed by Nombe. Ironically, he hopes when we play Birmingham next week, he plays because Birmingham struggle against the physicality of Hugo rather than Nombe. We'll see about that. Final one on the Leeds game. Phil says, why does Victor continually launch the ball every time it invites opposition possession and attack? Yeah, this was the issue in the first half, Kev. This is what caused us all the problems in the first half.
Yeah.
And it's not really Victor's fault. Well, what can he do? There's times where he shouldn't have been given the ball, and then when he has the ball, there are no short passes.
No.
So and because of how good Leeds are in terms of pushing and sort of pressing, he had to go long. There's an issue with receiving the ball from the goalkeepers, which needs improving because you can't surrender possession so easily against teams like Leeds and other teams like that.
No, at least most teams, mate. I don't think I've seen one team come to New York Stadium and not played that style. And I've been saying it for weeks. You absolutely bang on. It frustrates me because there's no point in kicking it along to Nombe or Hugo, who's either got to hold it up or lose the ball. And if he flicks it on, there's no one behind him anyway. Yeah. So that should be on the training ground to come short and to. Leeds did it so many times, but not just Leeds, everybody. They all do it, and it works. And if there's nobody past, to go back to Victor. Hoofing it up is not the right way, and I think it's not Victor's fault. Some people are saying that that's stopping him from a big money or that'll not earn him his big money move eventually. But I don't agree with that because I don't think it's his fault. He can only if there's nobody's pass it to, he can't pass it. Can he? Simple as that.
I think you've got to bear in mind as well. One of the tactics will have been to cut Leeds' press off, won't it? You know, I think we all knew that we were never going to have. We're going to have virtually no possession of the ball. They were going to fang about way around it back like they did for ages, and we weren't. You know, we weren't going to be able to do the same because they'd press us. So if you go long and then we can press them. So I suspect that was probably part of the plan against Leeds. We'll have to wait and see against who else we play, but you know, just don't invite pressure onto, you know, a back line that's got an average age of 52.
Yeah. Anything else we need to pick up from the Leeds game before we have a quick chat about Hull? Got plenty out, I think. Yeah, cool. Let's move on. Hull City tonight with our very famous away record still intact, over a year without a win. Danny Hull have had a decent season. They're sitting eighth at the minute. That chase for the fifth and sixth in the playoffs it's going to be a good fight. It should be a good fight. There's lots of teams that get that. Hull have come on. They spent a bit of money on some decent players. They've got a good young coach in Rossinia. It's going to be another tough night probably.
Yeah, I think it is. Hull have only lost one game in their last 5, and we haven't won in our last 5. So that's fun. But yeah, it doesn't really strike me as the game where, you know, Hull are going to batter us 4-2 again. I can sort of see it as not a rejuvenation, that's the wrong word, but because we've got Wayne Carlisle and not Matt Taylor, it sort of feels like we might see something different away from home. Hopefully we don't see a substitute made after 35 minutes. I mean, I saw a comment earlier saying that Wayne Carlisle wanted to change it in the first half, but couldn't get the advice on the pitch and so wait till half time. Good. So away from home, I hope we just set up as best we can against Hull and frustrate them, because I was just on a Hull podcast before coming here tonight, and they were saying if you set out to frustrate us, then you will, because we won't be able to deal with it. And I think was it Hull that Sheff Wednesday played, where they just sat back and disrupted everything, and Hull just couldn't handle it. So it almost feels like if we did the same thing we did against Leeds, then we'll see a similar sort of success against Hull. I'm just having a look at their team on FootMob now and how they line up. They line up, at least in the last game, with a 4-2-3-1. You know, with Delap up top, and then obviously the players out wide with Twine, and Twine's caused us all sorts of issues in the past as well.
Is he there now?
Yeah.
He is, yeah.
Well, that big money move to Burnley work then, didn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't it, Jules? So there's a lot of good players in their team, a lot of high ratings as well. But like I say, I think if we set up to frustrate, then we could, you know, potentially get a draw out of it. And if the decision making and the luck is on our side a little bit, maybe even grab a goal or two. Because with the Leeds game, if decision making was a little bit better, we could have scored 2, maybe even 3. You know, all right, fair enough, Leeds could have done the same, but you know, fine margins in football. So it's one of those games where I'm gutted I'm not going, because it's my nan's birthday on Tuesday, so I'm not going. But it feels like one of them games where if we frustrate, then we could see a good away draw potentially.
Not a win.
I don't know. I mean, it's certainly more within reach, I think, now that Matt Taylor's gone. But at the same time, is closer in reach still out of reach at this current time? You know, that's me thinking.
Fair enough. Yeah, we're going to do a scout report. We're going to speak to Hull and back. We're going to speak to tomorrow, so we'll get a bit of more breakdown on some of their players. Philogene is their standout. They paid £5 million from Aston Villa in the summer, and he's an England under-21 star. So he will be the one to watch. I think he's certainly a winger. We played Liam Delap a few times last season. He played for Preston and Stoke last season against us. Woody gifted, if anyone remembers the Boxing Day game, Woody gifted him their first goal last season. So
Philogene is also Hull's highest rated player on FootMob as well. And yes, he's their left-sided winger in behind the centre forward, if you like.
Yeah. But we'll see, Mick. Your thoughts, Mick? Do you see it as a set out to frustrate Jobby? Because they're going to be similar to Leeds in terms of trying to progress, trying to move the ball, trying to play a bit of football. But it doesn't work away from home. We've seen that. We really struggle to do that anywhere. Never mind away from home, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I just all I want to see is some fight. I just want to see some fight, some passion. If we're gonna lose, which that seems to be the case every time we go away from home, at least do it with some fight and passion, because you have more chance of getting something out of the game than just going down with a whimper, which is all we've done virtually every time we've been away from home this season. So given that Wayne Carlisle is now in charge, hopefully I'd like to think that there might be some change of attitude. There is definitely going to be a change of personnel. So we're going to have the likes of Agim Adoffin in the side. He will not sit back and allow that to happen. We in fact, the last time he played, I think, away from home, we were at Sunderland, weren't it, when he scored and we were on top until he went off. So hopefully that'll make a difference. We just have to sit back and wait and see how Wayne Carlisle sets it up. But I can't see it being much different to the way it's set up against Leeds and probably the way that we've set up most of the season away from home, and that's just trying to stay in the game for an hour and take it from there. Unfortunately, that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Gazawaga says that Phil Jean's right. Phil Jean played for Cardiff last season and causes a massive amount of problems. He absolutely did. What can you see in terms of defence, Kerry? It's a 3-game week, so we've got this game, then we've got Birmingham Saturday. Any questions there are on Sean Morrison, Lee Peltier, and Daniel Alla? Can they all three of those play 3 games this week? We have got Grant Hall come back, who was on the bench, or should be available. It's difficult because we defend well, so you'd be really tempted to not change anything because you want to keep that sort of know-how there, but you've got to manage them, I suppose. We don't know how much managing they need.
No, yeah, ideally you wouldn't want to change it, would you? But I think it may have to due to fitness or levels of fit or age even. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't change it. And I think on Tuesday, it's a weird one because if I was the manager, I'd be thinking, I've literally got nothing to lose. If I were Wayne Carlisle, I'd be thinking, I've got nothing to lose here. I'm going to set up to attack, change it all, get a result. And I don't think he'd get a job anyway, like I said, but who knows? He's got nothing to lose. He may as well mix up a bit and go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think I agree. Right, he's got nothing to lose. If he wins and probably don't get the job, he then strengthens his case for another job somewhere else. He's got this. He's got these 2 games. Mike Mills said we set out for frustrate or try and stay in the game for an hour. Then what on earth? What on earth is going to change away from home?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I'm not suggesting we should do it. I'm just saying that that's what I feel will happen. I agree with that, Mike. Absolutely.
I do think you have to pick and choose your battles with the whole set out to frustrate thing as well. Like certain teams don't like it, but certain teams thrive off it and find the ways around it. And Hull are one of those teams that I've been told by their fans that, if you set up to frustrate us, we don't like it, and that's at home. They don't like it. But for a team of, of Watford's calibre, for example, we tried to set up to frustrate them and stay in the game, and we got absolutely tonked. So it's definitely a pick and choose your battles with that one. But I try and stay in the game for an hour. No, I don't. No, I think that's the wrong approach to Hull. I think it's to disrupt them as much as possible, and possibly just like I said, just set up to frustrate them, just stop their flow.
There's going to be times where we're going to have to soak up pressure against every team in this league. There's going to be times. What I'd like to see is mix it up. If we attack somebody for the first 10 minutes, then based on what they've seen of us this year, nobody's going to expect us to go at them from the off of it. No, so if you can have a bit of attack, soak up pressure for a time, then it needs to be done in phases, obviously. One change I would like to see, Danny, is Revan. I like Revan, and I think he's a good left back. But that blew my mind where Revan played on Friday night. And that was the one negative for me. It was playing massively out of position, and it was very, very obvious it was out of position. And you've got Appiah sat on bench, who is hit and miss, but he's a winger. So why would you not? Didn't get that.
Yeah, that that was a strange one. I would like to see Appiah get a run out under Wayne Carlisle just to see where he is and where he stands. And like you say, he's more of a. Don't get me wrong, Revan's a good player on his day and he's very quick, but Appiah's sort of got that bit more about him going forward, I think.
Didn't need that against Leeds, though, did we?
True.
We needed that additional defensive player in there. And I think that's probably what Wayne Carlisle's thinking was, because with the greatest of respect, Seb Revan's not going to get caught out, on edge of opposition's 18-yard box more than a couple of times a game, is he? That's just not his game. He's more likely to be defensive. Whereas on the other side, Fred is less likely to be on his own 18-yard box as he is the opposition. So I think that's probably where they were looking there, just to give you that little additional bit of defensive resilience, if you like.
I just felt like Revan were hung out to dry. I just felt sorry for him. He was out of position all the time. I know he probably made us better defensively, but I just felt he would just look lost, to be honest with
you.
Anyway, let's do some predictions. Kev, start us off, mate. What do you reckon for Tuesday?
1-0 Rotherham.
1-0 Rotherham, like it. I'm going to copy you. 1-0 Rotherham. Typical bit of not quite footballing symmetry, but the first game after the old manager's lost, having not won away from home for a year, he goes and we win. It was just typical football. I'm with you, Kev. Danny?
I'm going to stick with what I said on the whole podcast and say 0-0.
Dire 0-0 game, is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's a case of it being properly dire like good grief what we're watching. I think it's a case of just not both teams not really having enough to breach each other.
Okay. Well, the 0-0 at Hull last season was pretty dire, to be fair. So if it's the same again,
yes, it was.
Mick,
well, I'm a little bit torn because I'm enjoying watching the development of your beard. So I'm thinking of predicting a loss, but no, I'm 2-1 Rotherham.
2-1 Mills. Fair enough. Nathan Coventry says 1-2. So does Russ Vernon. Harry says 1-1. Mike the Miller says 0-2. John S says 1-0 to the Millers, and Gumbo says 2-1. So does YouTube user. Tobias is going 2-0 for us as well.
Very positive.
I know.
Liking that.
Gavin Sherburne says 2-1 to Millers as well. That's hopefully though. And Phil says 2-0 as well. John Well with the realism comes in, says 3-1 to Hull. Cheers, John. Keeping us on ground. Right, there we go. Anything else, boys, we need to touch on before we leave for who knows when?
I've got one thing. Just a little rant.
Oh, there we go.
Hey?
Everybody sit back, relax.
I just wondered what I'd love to have a word with the head of security at or whoever's in charge of the stewards at New York Stadium and ask them why they're encouraging people, away supporters, to buy tickets in the home end. Because if you buy tickets in the home end, all that's going to happen is the steward's going to take you out of the home end and put you in the away end, which is what happened on Friday night, which is an absolute disgrace as far as I'm concerned. You've got Leeds United supporters buying tickets in the Rotherham end, creating trouble, causing problems in with families and everything else. And all that happens is they get taken out of the home end and put in their away end. It's an absolute disgrace. And I mean, the behaviour some of the Leeds fans, well, and probably some of the Rotherham fans as well. I don't know, but certainly some of these are supposedly fully functioning adults. You wouldn't believe it, would you? But that part of it really, really, really annoys me because it sets a really bad precedent. If these things get around among supporters, if you can't go a ticket away and just buy one in home end, mate, you'll just bang it away end. In the away end that's sold out, by the way. So I was really, really disappointed with that. But there you go.
Yeah, you're right. It's the massive safety issues with that. Putting extra fans in the away end as well is a massive issue as well. And well,
I can't get my head around it. If I went to Hillsborough and called as a Rotherham United supporter in South Stand or whatever, and the stewards found me, the first place I'd expect to be is on my arse in car park. Where else would you expect to be?
Yeah.
And it blows my mind. So it's poor, really, really poor.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
Completely agree. We haven't done ref watch just briefly. It's Rachel Rebecca Welsh. Can't remember now. Should have checked. She refereed the Birmingham game, Birmingham Wednesday at the weekend, where sadly some Wednesday fans I think got arrested for sexist abuse, which is not awful, but there we are. She has.
I thought she'd refereed one of our Pizza Cup games.
She did. So she refereed the Crew game and the Pizza Cup.
Yeah.
And the first half was a dreadful refereeing performance.
It was
Truly dreadful. She was great in the second half, but the first half it was one of the worst refereeing 45 minutes I've seen in a long, long time.
But was that not her first professional game? I think.
I don't think it was first professional, but she wasn't a championship referee at that time.
Yeah.
She was coming up, but John says, "Oh dear, good luck, lads. She is dreadful." Cheers, John.
Probably right.
Ray of sunshine tonight is John, isn't it?
She's only going to be the same as most of the rest of them, isn't it? So that's not going to make any difference.
Very, very true. So let's see how that goes. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Please do subscribe to YouTube if you haven't already, and like the video if you haven't done it again. I haven't done this already. If you want to see some legends, contact Kev because there's some tickets available Friday night. Just remind us again: Kev Watson, Adam Collin.
Yeah. Andy Williams and Guy Branston.
There you go. I know Brex and Ron will be there as well.
Yeah, Brex and Ron are there as well. Yeah.
So why not come on to New York Stadium? We'll raise some money for charity.
Yeah.
We'll have a good old laugh. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, make sure you've subscribed to that as well. We will be back. We'll be back on Thursday. So that will be the obviously review of the whole game, preview of the Saturday game, unless there's an appointment. If there's an appointment, there'll be the emergency podcast. If and when that happens, unlikely, but you never know. Let's stay positive between now and Saturday. Kev, thanks for being with us, mate. It's been a good one again.
Welcome.
And Danny, thank you very much, mate.
No worries, lads.
And thank you, mate. You give Mick Rant fans something to cheer about at the end. Left it late, but you got one in, so thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching. See you next time. And up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
Into Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Foderingham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, the Dauphin, he can hit them, and he does. The Dauphin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favor, drop me off.